Hey, party people. This is Toni. I'm with Jupiter's Playground, and you can find me there, www.jupitersplayground.com. That's where I'm at. And you can also find me on Facebook. Try and find me there, Jupiter's Playground. Same. So today, what you're going to need to do the project, we're working on the polarities in astrology. So, this is one of the very basic fundamental concepts that you need to play with when we're dealing with astrology. Last time we focused on the elements, so today we're focusing on the polarities, and specifically the polarities in the house system. So what you're going to need is you're going to need something to color with. You want something to color with. You want something to paint on. I love a really good cheap set of watercolors. You could just go get out. I think that you can pay like $2. Go get a thing of watercolors. It's fun. I also have more expensive sets because I have decided to invest in my habit that I have. You can grab some paintbrushes. I've got my paintbrushes right here, and I've got, these are some really nice ones. These are my Jane Davenport watercolors. Fantastic. Look at them. They're just beautiful. And they're so bright. Look at that. So bright. A regular old, this is one of those just kind of very basic watercolor sets. And then you also want just some paper. This is actually a watercolor notebook, just a little tiny one. You don't need it. You don't need it. You can just always go get, some cheap watercolor paper. As long as you're able to get something on paper, that's what matters. That's what counts. So I'm looking forward to painting with you. Get ready, go get settled, go get yourself something to drink, get comfortable, and I will see you there. Okay, so when we're getting started, I've got my coffee. I'm all loaded up here. Sip of coffee. And so we're going to be working with the polarities in the astrological or your natal chart. And it's best to, there are so many different ways that we can explore polarities in astrology. So the way that we are going to be doing it today is we're going to be looking at the house system. So we're going to start off by first creating we're going to do a circle. I'm going to make a circle. So let's see here. Do I have anything that I can make a circle with? Not so much. I'm just going to do this by freehand. Alrighty. No measuring, nothing fancy. I'm just going to create a circle, and you may go ahead and follow along with me. That's totally fine. So we're starting off with a circle, and yeah, it's even off center and everything. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? Okay, so I'm gonna draw a line here across, and I'm gonna draw a line from top to bottom. This would represent the horizon right here. This would represent the midheaven and the IC. So next, we're going to divide each of these. These are the quadrants right here. We're going to divide each of these into 3. Boop. All right. So there we go. We've got now the first and the third quadrant all set. Now we're not going to get too in depth with the house system, because what's really important today is that we're going to be examining the polarities within them. Okay, so there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush pens, to sort of illuminate and to show off the different polarities and what's going on here. So I'm gonna take I seem to have misplaced my black one, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna take a pen and I'm gonna write This would be the first house. 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay. So we've got the 12 houses. We have the horizon right there. Okay, this would actually represent, this is really funny because I mean, even though you've got north, south, east, west, we all know, hopefully, you know, which direction east is and which direction west is. It's actually flipped in the house system when you look at a natal wheel. So yeah, so the first one we're going to look at, the first polarity, because it makes sense because it's the first, it's the first house. So the first house, and then when we're talking about polarities, we're actually looking at this polarity right here, just how one is directly across from the other. And I guess I'm starting this actually. I think I'm going to do it in pink. Alrighty. So this is going to be the polarity axis right here. Trace that line. You see that? Okay. So this polarity axis is all about self. It's all about the way you look. Okay, this is, or not the polarity axis, but it's the first house. The first house is all about yourself, your appearance. So this is about self, okay, how you look, okay, it's about the body, it's about your attitude, okay, it's your approach to life, it is the mantra is I am. So it's your awareness of self. Okay, so appearance, it's your outward personality. That would be your first house. So this is actually called the axis of identity. It's not like a definite, like, all astrologers out there are not necessarily going to be saying, oh, this is the axis of identity, but that's just, it is the axis of identity. It's just what we're going to be calling it today. Coffee. Okay, so now this one is partner. Okay, so this, you can already see, like, this is the I am, this is your partner. So here, this is where we talk about relationships, you in a relationship. So this is you not necessarily in a relationship. This is you the way you came into the world. This is you in a relationship. This is you in marriage. This is you in in a business, like business partners. Okay, this has to do specifically with business partners, not necessarily business itself, but business partners. Okay, it's equality, it's intimacy with another, it's sharing. Okay, yeah, it's your interpersonal relationships. So, all right, so that is the first axis. We're going to look at the next axis. The next axis is the axis of resources. Okay, so it doesn't look like a completely different color, but it's a little bit, it's a tiny bit darker. Okay. Ooh, that sound. It's like nails on a chalkboard a little bit. Okay. So this polarity, you know, I don't like the way that it sort of blends in with the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and go over it with purple. There we go. That way you can see very clearly that these two are related. Okay. They're not the same. They're related. They're complementary. Okay. So this axis here, again, is all about resources. So this is I have, okay, resources. Okay, this is self. This is other. Okay. See how this is unfolding? This is the house system. Super cool. So this is I have, these are resources. Okay. Then I'm going to come over to this side to the 8th house. This would be the 8th house. And this is I circulate, shared resources. I share. I'm going to say I share. Okay, I share. So this is going to be things like things that are taboo fall into the 8th house, but this is letting go. Okay, this is, oh, death. Okay, this is regeneration. R-E-G-E-N-E-R-A-T-I-O-N. Okay, it's other people's money. Other people's money. Okay, it is, it's sharing. It's sex, you know, it's, yeah, it's taboo. Tattoos and stuff would be in the 8th house. Things that would be considered taboo by societal standards, that would be in the 8th house. We didn't, I don't know why we didn't fill in the 2nd house here, but we'll go ahead and do that. So the 2nd house is going to have to do with your own personal money. It's going to have to do with work, income. This is actually like what you do for money here. Daily routines. Daily routines. Oh, it's your values. Okay. This would be shared values. Shared values. Like say you're in a relationship with somebody else, this would be your shared values, your shared money. This is going to be personal money. So personal resources, shared resources. You know, when it comes to sex, it's going to be, I'm sharing my body. This is my own personal body and how I perceive pleasure in my world. Material possessions. And this is like your priorities, habits, okay, your job, your work ethic. It all falls in here. So, so again, here, it's the merging. You're merging, M-E-R-G-I-N-G. Okay. You're merging, so it's merging sex, it's merging intimacy, it's shared finances, it's shared like inheritances. If you inherit something, it's taxes, like you're sharing your money with the government, right? So that's taxes, loans, assets, property, joint ventures, goals, like goals that you and your partner might have together. Ooh, it's the mystery. Ooh, I like that, mystery. Okay, so with mystery, it's sort of like you're sharing your life with that which is much bigger than you. So that would be the mystery. So I am an 8th house girl. Love my 8th house. I have a lot going on there. So yeah, so your goal, your partner's resources, that would be the 8th house. Now we're going to move on to the 3rd and the 9th house, this polarity. So as we're doing this, I want you to consider which of these houses really is something that you feel you're working with right now. I'm going to grab, let's see here. I'm going to grab a green. I'm going to do this one in green. I'm not necessarily, oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do, yeah. So this is thinking, mind stuff. When I think of mind stuff, I think of like more of a yellow. This is a yellowish orange. I'm going to do that. Okay, think of air. Okay, the air element is associated with thinking. So yes, if you have air, a lot of air in your chart, you probably process things mentally. It's a mental realm. Okay, so 3rd, this is the mind. Okay, this is I think. Okay, so I am, I have, I think. Okay, now this is thinking versus exploring. I explore. Okay, so this is almost like, you know, hanging out in your own mind, like journeying in your own mind, but this is exploring, getting out into the world and really expanding. So this is your immediate environment. Immediate. So this is your immediate environment. This is expanded. Expanded horizons. Okay. So in the 3rd house, we have the mind. Okay. We have thinking. Okay. So we have the mind in this one. We have thinking. We have communication. We have short trips. Okay. Siblings. Okay, you can see the way my brain works. I have got writing all over the place. Social activity. So if you're a private person, you're actually going to see that here in the 3rd house. You know, you might have, say, you know, if you have your Scorpio in the 3rd house, that would mean that you're more of a private person and you like to go inward, or maybe even Pisces or something like that. Those would be like inward, going inward, your social activity. If you're sort of like introvert, you might see that here. It might be expressed. There's really no way to see if somebody is an introvert or an extrovert on their chart. Some people might disagree, but these are your interests. Neighbors. Siblings. Okay, so these all sort of have to do with like early life. This is going to be like birth. Okay, this is going to be about, you know, 2 years old when you start to really sense what's happening in the world. I mean, so birth to 1 year old, 1 year old to about 2 years old, you're kind of putting everything in your mouth and sensing for what really feels good. This is going to be about 3 years old when your mind starts to really expand and you start really connecting with others. That is associated with this 3rd house. Siblings, you know, a lot of us, I know that my brother was born when I was 2 years old, and when I was 3 years old, it was like all about him. He was like my everything. And so this was a very important house for me at that time. Okay, so this is also early education. Very important. So there's a lot going on in this house. Probably because there's a lot going on when you're about 3 years old. So, all right, we've got a 9th house over here. This is all about travel, but this is more like long, traveling far, like traveling distances, travel. I also have a very active 9th house. So I love traveling, love it. This is wisdom and philosophy. Okay, expanding. It's, you know, like expanding your mind here. It's just thinking at a very concrete, I guess concrete level. It's like you're collecting. I'm a teacher by day, and so so first you collect the information. That's acquiring information, and eventually you apply it, and that would be kind of moving into that 9th house. Higher education. We have, this would also be law and religion. It's, other cultures, exploring other cultures. Let's see, we also have, you know, if you like to learn a lot, learning. Ethics. Let's say, is there anything else? I think that's about it. So that would be the access. This would be like the educational, the thinking, the information. That's what we call it, the information access. Okay. So next we are moving on to the 4th house. The 4th house and the 10th house. Let's see, I'm gonna do blue for this one. The reason I'm doing blue is that this is typically the house that Cancer is associated with. Okay, we would have Cancer over here. And then we'd have Capricorn right over here in the 10th house. So that would be the polarity, Cancer, Capricorn, 4th, 10th. Okay. So with this house here, okay, this is I nurture. Okay, I nurture. Like, how do you nurture yourself? This one up here is I achieve. Achieve. Okay, so in nurturing, okay, this would have everything to do with your home. Like, what do you like to come home to? What makes you feel at home? This has to do with your roots, family. You know, just all of that early childhood stuff. You know, this would be almost like right before you go off to school. You know, mama's probably like, "Oh, my little baby, you're getting so old." Just some of us might, if you had difficulty in your early childhood, and you know, around that, you know, just really this would be all throughout being raised. But if you had difficulty, that would be indicated here in the 4th house. So this would also be self-care. So if you have difficulty with self-care, difficulty taking care of yourself, or difficulty with self-worth, that would be something that would show up in that 4th house. Your foundations. I know that before kids get into kindergarten, again, teacher speak, okay, before kids get into kindergarten, they are expected to have the right foundations. And if they don't necessarily have those foundations, even on an emotional level, it makes it really difficult for them to learn and to hold on to information. This has to do with mother, children. This would be women, femininity. Let's see, anything else? Parents. Inner security. Okay, so 2 has to do with more like material security. This is like inner security. Okay, so number 10, so the 10th house is all about career. Okay, so this is like I go home and this is the environment that I want to be in. And 10th is going to be like, this is my career. These are my long-term goals. This is how I'm going to get to them. Structure. And if you're a Capricorn and if you're a Cancer, you might relate to some of these descriptions. So structure, status. Okay, it's really nice to go home and just not necessarily have any sort of status to uphold, but 10th is going to be like, I am concerned about status. I want to have a great reputation. Okay, it's going to have to do with your reputation, your public image. This one's got a little like an ice cream cone. Okay, yeah, hello, I'm over here. Masculinity. Okay, this is gonna have to do with father. Masculinity. Here we have femininity. Here we have masculinity. So here, this axis is super interesting to me because right here in the 4th house, it's almost like that soft, you know, feminine, allowing that sort of energy. And here, when you look at these terms, career, long-term goals, structure, status, you know, that's more feminine or more masculine. Father has to do with fame. A lot of famous people have a lot going on in their 10th house. It's really, really interesting to just, you know, like that might be something that you might want to look at. Go on like astro.com or something and look up somebody famous, or even just I go into Google and I'll type in a famous person, and then I, you know, because I get really curious about famous people and their astrology charts, and so it'll actually pull up their astrology chart, and if they have a bunch of stuff here in the 10th house, it's like, oh, that is super cool, you know, it's really fun to look at. So there we go. So that's that polarity axis. Now just feel into, so far, just feel into which one of these axes really, really speaks to you. Like, where do you feel that there's a lot of energy? For me, I like when I was doing this one, it's like my fingers started to light up. It's like, ooh, I'm really, really curious about this axis right here. You know, I'm not a Cancer or a Capricorn, but wow, you know, for some reason, this seems to be like zinging for me. Alrighty, let's see here. Next, we're gonna do the 5th house. I'm gonna use the color red. Do I wanna use red? No, I wanna use green. I wanna use green. Spirit just got really excited right then. One of those reasons is that 5th is associated with Virgos, and my wife is a Virgo, so I got a little excited because she's so cute. I need her to keep me grounded. I am a Libra. I am an air sign. I've got a lot of air, lots of fire in my chart too, so I need her to drop me down. Alrighty. Even when you see us together, it's like, oh my goodness, how did those two end up together? It works. It's awesome. So this is I serve. This is the axis of service. I serve. Okay, so this is your personal creativity. Now this one over here is I aspire. Okay, so this has to do with a group contribution. Okay, so personal creativity and group contribution. Super cool, right? Alrighty, so let's see here. This one Fifth house is romance. Okay, so whenever I think about creativity, I think about, I think about the second chakra here. When you look at I am, that's very much root chakra. It's associated with the root chakra. This second chakra would be, you know, when you think about money and security and things that taste good, that's a second house sort of thing. It's also associated with the second chakra. This isn't this interesting? Okay, this third is associated with the third chakra. Okay, it's associated with, you know, the mind, thinking, your will. Okay, when I look at siblings, I think of will. Okay, your will is developed in that third grade when you're about 3 years old. Okay, so it's associated with the third chakra, your solar plexus. Here, nurturing. When you think about nurturing, it's like that's your heart, right? Okay, it's when I think about mother, you know, or the archetypal mother. It doesn't. I know that some of us have had really difficult relationships with our mothers. And so just think about the archetypal mother with her arms outstretched. You know, that would be, you know, when your arms are outstretched, that is a heart opening. And so that's the heart chakra. The fifth house has everything to do with expression. Okay, expression. It also is very much connected to that second chakra. So, I digress. I could go on and on about this forever. Okay, so this would be like romance. What feels good? Love. Okay. Oh, how about this? Affairs. Scandalous. I guess affairs could also go here. Like I share. I don't know. Maybe if you have an open relationship. That's cool. Love, affairs. Let's see here. What else would go here in the fifth house? It would be, play. Things that feel like fun, right? Play helps you access creativity. That's something I love to do. Creativity, duh. Fertility. Okay. Childlike spirit. Okay. I'm sorry, this is not associated with Virgo. That would be more the sixth house. This would be Leo. This would be associated with Leo. So my bad. I'm sorry. So yes, romance, love, affairs, play, creativity, fertility, childlike spirit, joy, self-expression, drama. Okay, let's see, anything else? Children. Okay, I actually have Saturn here, which is, you know, sort of a sustaining force. So, yeah, so that's kind of fun. All right. So there we go. That's I serve. Oh, excuse me. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So that's that. I serve personal creativity myself. Okay. So then I don't think that that's correct. I'm not going with serve. That wouldn't be the correct one, because I serve is actually the sixth. That's what I'm thinking of. I aspire. You know, it's okay. We can keep serve for this. Almost like I'm serving myself. I serve myself. I fill myself up. This is how I fill my cup. So yeah, I guess that's appropriate. That works. Alrighty. Over here on the other side, group contribution, the 11th house, friends. This has to do with, friends, groups, social awareness, social contribution, like social causes. I know people, a lot of people who are very active in social awareness, have a lot going on in that 11th house right there. We have humanitarianism. I have a really sick joke about humanitarian. Nothing. Okay, technology. I know that sounds really odd, right? But so once again, this would be the Leo. So I was not, this would be the Leo. This would be Aquarius over here. Leo rules over the 5th house. Aquarius rules over the 11th house. So a lot of these so if you're an Aquarius, a lot of these terms might ring true for you. And if you're a Leo, a lot of these might ring true for you. So technology, and you might, when I messed up earlier and said Virgo, and if you're a Virgo and you're like, oh, none of these, really resonated. But then now that I said Leo, it does. But then you might say, hey, wait, those do resonate with me. Then you might want to look and see where Leo falls in your chart. The thing is just because you have, I know I'm digressing. I'm not digressing. I'm getting off on a tangent once again, but I think that this is really important. So say I am, okay, that's the 1st house. It's also associated with Aries. 7th house is associated with Libra, okay? So if you're an Aries, you might, a lot of these might ring true for you, the self, the appearance, the beginnings, the body. If you're a very physical person, physical activity. Okay, it's very physical when I think about the root chakra. That's very physical. So this is associated with Aries. This one's associated with Libra. But just because it's associated with Aries does not mean that Aries is going to appear in your 1st house in your chart. And this is why birth times are so important. I will go over this again in another video at some point, but we're just doing the houses right now. We're not necessarily going into the signs, okay? So just because I say this sign is associated with this house, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to see that sign inside that house. So we will talk more about that at another time, but it's just, just something that's it's interesting. So with Aquarius, they call it the astrological ABCs, and they don't necessarily all line up, but sometimes it's just kind of helps to get an idea of the flavor of, like cilantro in Thailand is not the same as cilantro in like Mexico, or, the cilantro in, I like travel. Okay, 9th house. So cilantro in different dishes, you can have cilantro expressed in different dishes in different ways. And so that's what I'm saying about the whole astrological ABCs, 1st house, Aries, is associated with Mars, that sort of thing. We won't get too much into that, but I do want to point out that Aquarius is associated with the 11th house, and then there's technology that falls in there. So Uranus is also associated with Aquarius, and so that's something that I find really interesting. Is Uranus also kind of he also rules over technology, so that's just it's just interesting. Hopes, wishes. Okay, what do you really want to see happen in the world? A lot of us have these great big dreams. Those would be here in the 11th house. Those would appear there in the 11th house. Let's see, the future. My good friend DK actually says that Aquarians he's like, hey, you know, I don't think that they're from this planet. I think that they're actually from the future, not from another planet, but they're from the future. So I love that he said that, because it's just so interesting. So yeah, these are your aspirations, your goals, friends, groups, that sort of thing. Finally, we're gonna move on. I really wish I had maybe done that in red. You know what? I'm gonna go over that and just do it in red, because I feel like red is a good color for this axis, I think. There we go. Axis of service. I like that one. Okay. All right, next, I will use green for the next one, because this one is associated with the Virgo, who I love and adore. Okay. All right, there we go. All righty, so 6th house. Again, I serve, but it's a little bit different. So this is like serving others, serving self, blah, 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 that axis. This is also another axis of service, but it's different. So this is I dream. Once upon a time, the 12th house was associated also with it was called the house of undoing. If you had planets there, it's like you had a lot of things in your closet and you had to air it out. I don't know. Not so much anymore. So that's really kind of cool. So the 6th house is associated with work, like actually how you show up at work. It's the 6th house. It's health and fitness, how you take care of yourself, like what you eat, you know, that sort of thing. You know, are you a vegetarian? I don't know, like that might show up in your 6th house. Fitness, systems. Yeah, my wife, again, is a Virgo. A Virgo is associated with the 6th house. She loves systems, and she loves, like, now she's going to school for data analysis. She's getting her master's in that. And I'm like, I don't know. Wow, that is my brain. It hurts my brain. Analytical nature. You know, when you walk into a room, are you like, this needs to go there. This functions in this manner. Very interesting. Pets. Pets keep you healthy. I love my dog. Okay, work habits. Yeah, like how do you show up at work? Drunk? Don't do that. Only kidding. I don't know. I'm not knocking anyone for anything that they're doing. Organizations, how you show up in your organization. So it's not necessarily like, you know, business, like having a business, like you got a business and you're running it. This is actually like, I work at, like, you know, so for example, I am a teacher. This is how I show up as a teacher. So organization, sense of usefulness. Influence, let's see, service given. One of my very favorite things about Virgos, again, associated with the 6th house, is not favorite thing. I get concerned about Virgos, I think, sometimes, because they will give and give and give. They don't necessarily want, and I'm not generalizing, but I guess it sounds like I am, but it's a typical thing for a Virgo to do things without wanting any sort of recognition. And so, yeah, it's like selfless service, like, you know, being a mom, momming.
work, health, service, self-improvement. Yeah, so that's the 6th house. Next, we've got the 12th house. Now, this is a really fun one, okay? It is, I dream. I know my great friend Sonia, she just loves, she's got planets in the 12th house, and she loves to share what she knows about that one. So Sonia Carey, look her up. She's a very, very interesting person. She's a very great astrologer. So this is endings. Okay, this is what you come into the world with. Like, say mom was dealing with something on an emotional level that ends up being passed on to you. That would show up in your 12th house. Okay, so this is where healing needs to take place. Okay, anything that's ancestral might even show up in your 12th house. Closure. So I'm going to put ancestral. Okay. I'm very interested in how things are passed down from the mother to the child on a DNA level. So even things that say your grandparents endured can be passed on to you on a DNA level. So that would actually show up in the 12th house. You know, and that's why it's the kind of stuff that we need to work on in this lifetime. Spirituality. Spirituality, it's associated with Pisces. Solitude, karma. The thing with karma, I just want to relay a little caveat with karma. Karma oftentimes is very, very misused in say yoga, you know, in new age circles. People love to throw around, oh, it's your karma, you know. I just feel like when people throw around that word, it becomes like a bad word, you know. Like, just be careful when you use the word karma. It's a very personal, to me, it's a very personal thing. Karma is. So let's see here, we've got karma. All this is associated with old age. It's associated with the afterlife. What's hidden? Limiting beliefs. One of the best images that I've ever seen is, I'll draw it up here. So with limiting beliefs, let's say there is a mountain and it starts down here underneath the water and it comes up a little bit. Okay, comes up a little bit, or an iceberg, you know. So I think you know what I'm talking about, but yeah, so here would be the water, but then the mountain or the iceberg actually starts way below here. These would be the limiting beliefs. This part right here really would kind of, this could represent the 12th house, you know, just the bottom there. Okay, the top up here would be what you could see, you know, and you could always say that this would be a 6th house, a 6th house concept, you know, this upper part that you see, you know, oh, you know, this is what I show up as, this is my work, you know, this is how I take care of myself, how I, you know, so that I can show up in the world and be functional. And down here, this is all the stuff that's hidden that you're actually dealing with, right? We've all got that stuff. So limiting beliefs, the subconscious. Alrighty, so that's transcendence. And solitude. Let's see, do I have solitude in there? Yeah, I do. Self-sabotage. So that's also related to limiting beliefs, so I'm not going to put that there. So there we go. We've done all of our accesses. And now I want you to take a minute and just look it over and consider, you know, which of these polarity accesses seems like, oh, I want to work on that, you know, I want to work on, it doesn't have to be something like, oh, I'm going to work on it and it's going to make me, you know, just what's something that you want to really focus on. And so another thing too, also, when we're talking about polarities, you also have, you know, the concept of the medicine wheel, the north, south, east, and west. Okay, the north, south, east, and west. This would be old age. This would be teenagers. Okay, old age, teenagers, a baby and a parent, or the elder, the warrior, the lover, and the magician, or aspiration, creativity. This would be new beginnings, and this would be releasing. So yeah, up, down, you know, up, down, left, right. So those are all of the polarities. We also have male, female, our masculine, feminine, yin, yang. Okay, so those are just different polarities. Okay, I just, okay, there we go. So, so yeah, in doing that, you can consider what polarity axis would you like to work with? What sounds intriguing for you? What makes you go, ooh, I'm going to actually work on this polarity axis right here. That one seems to be working for me because, you know, I like fun. And then the next thing that you're going to do is we're going to look at the color wheel. And when we do this, we're going to choose complementary. So again, these two are complementary, right? These two are complementary. They don't necessarily agree. They're not the same, you know. In color theory, if you mix this one and this one, what do you get? Brown, just probably an ugly shade of brown, right? Same thing goes for like these two, brown. It's just gonna be brown, it's gonna be icky. Okay, so, and so that's what we're dealing with, you know? We're dealing with these complementary polarities, right? And kind of fun. Okay, so we're dealing with these complementary polarities. We're gonna be dealing with complementary colors on the color wheel. So you can deal with green and red, or yellow, green, and red, violet, or yellow and violet. Ooh, that is a great combination. That's a fun one, right? Okay, you can do blue, violet, and yellow, orange. That, let's see here, blue and orange, blue, green, and red, orange. I like this one, and so I'm working with this one today. And so as we do that, I want you to choose, some sort of medium to work with. It doesn't necessarily have to be watercolors. I really love watercolors. I think they're fun. You can use a very basic, like you can grab your kid's watercolor set. Hopefully it's not full of, you know, it's not mixed so bad that, you know, all you've got is a big pool of mud. But yeah, it can be, yeah, just use whatever you have. You can use, you know, markers, or you can use acrylics. Use whatever it is that you have on you. You can use crayons. It doesn't matter. It's okay. As long as you're kind of playing with those polar, you know, complementary colors. And again, I'm going to be using watercolor simply because I love watercolor. I love the way that I can play with the water and the color and how things sort of like merge and swish and get into, that sort of thing. So yeah, so let's dive in. I have this really small journal. It's an art journal. It looks like I ended up getting it. It's a watercolor journal, and so it's cold press. I also use hot press for other things. It's a little bit smoother, but yeah, so we will get started. So now I am all ready to go. I know what polarities I'm going to be working with now, and I'm going to get started with my painting. So one of the techniques, I want to show you a couple of techniques that I use that I love, so that just so you know what's happening is, first thing that I do is I put some water in my palette, and you can always use a paper plate, or I don't know, a pan of some sort, I don't know, wherever you want to, some sort of surface, so you can just stick some water there. Another thing I like to do is I like to put just dab some water on the paper, on the little canvas itself, and that way, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm dabbing some paint on the canvas, or some water on the canvas. That way, it's gonna do some really, really fun things. Like it can swirl and do things like that. So there we go. All right. So I'm going to choose my paints. I've got a blue green, so I'm going to use, okay, so now look at this palette. This is a nice blue green. Okay, this mermaid color. Blue green and a red orange. That would be this ladybug here. I think I'm going to use that. Those two right there. Just simple, simple, simple. Keeping it simple. Keeping it simple. So I'm gonna grab some mermaid. Okay, so and when I grab my mermaid, check this out. Watch when I dab it. It's not fun. I'm gonna stick with my mermaid color for a bit. I like it when I do these smaller pieces, because look at it, I can actually just touch it and it fills the entire thing with color. Ooh, it's just so much fun to do that one. Ooh, look at that. Look at the way it spreads. Okay. The whole time that I'm doing this, I'm thinking of, the one side of the polarity. I'm going to infuse this blue-green with one of the polarity, one of those sides, one of those polarities. Okay, again, it can be like a yin-yang. It can be self and other. What polarity are you working with right now? And allow yourself just to play with that polarity and the idea as you're kind of spilling the color out onto the canvas or the paper. Having it darker and lighter. This is not a very realistic painting, but swirl. Oh, look at that swirl. So something I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take some of this paint here and I'm going to place it in this little compartment. And then I'm going to take some of it and I'm going to put it in the next door compartment. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, and so what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of like black, just a tiny bit of black to this side. Okay. Just a little bit, not a ton, because I want it just to get a little tiny bit darker. Okay, there we go. This is a watercolor as well. It's a watercolor, but it comes out of a tube. Tubey watercolor. I like it to mix things with. So check that out. So this lightens it up quite a bit. So, ooh, I like that. It's a lot lighter. Okay, and I can also add that to my painting. Okay. I can even just take some white and dab the white straight and onto the canvas too. Playing with black and white, but always that's, you know, it always makes me think of that you know, the yin and yang qualities. And the thing is with yin and yang is it's not yin and yang are not. You know, the concept of dark and light has always been, you know, it's something that we've been kind of wrestling with, I know, in our culture for some time. And now there's a huge rise, and I know the divine feminine, and we're working with that today, right now, right? Look at that. Look at that mix. Look at that spill out. It's fascinating. I'm watching that. Okay, bring some darker in there. Going a little bit more dark. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, look what I did there. I don't know why I did that, but I kind of like it. All right, there we go. Ooh, yeah. Yes. So it's okay to add. You don't want it to. It doesn't necessarily need to stay totally, you know, that pure, what do you call it? A pure hue. Playing with it. Just dinking around. Alright. Ooh, that's fun. So here I'm gonna play around with more water. I'm gonna add a little bit more water to let's see what happens. There. Ooh, look at that. Oh wow. That water's just kind of played in there. And again, as I'm doing this, I'm meditating on the polarities, on that polarity that I wanted to focus on. So I'm putting on the slide of that polarity. We're going to be focusing on the other side next time when I take out the other color. That looks just about, yeah, I dig that the way it is right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow that to dry. And then the next piece is going to be the opposite. I just did my yellow-green, or my blue-green, sorry, my blue-green. And then I'm going to work on my red-orange next. So working on one polarity right now, allowing that to dry and be. And even allowing that to be a meditative process, you know, focusing on the one polarity and in what ways is that one polarity impacting your life right now? What does it have to tell you? And how has it served you? So, spend some time. You can just stare at it for a little while, throw on some music. I know I plan on doing that, so we'll see you back here and just. All right, so it has been overnight. I let this thing dry overnight, so and I've got my coffee. I've had my coffee. It is now morning, and the lighting is probably a little bit different in here, but that's okay. So yesterday or last night, I used a blue-green. Okay, remember we're working with polarities here. So this represented, this one color here, the blue-green represented one side of a polarity on the houses. Okay, so when we're talking about the astrological houses, so this is each of the houses. So once again, I chose to work with this one right here, this polarity axis. Okay, and so so you're picking one color for each. That's what we did before. And so so for me, I chose the blue-green to represent this one right here. Okay, and this is going to, the following color is going to represent the other axis. And so I'm going to just explore what happens for me. And I want to invite you to do the same. What happens when you are working with the colors, and what happens when you see this blending happening, and just allow yourself to explore on a deeper level, you know, feel it within your heart, within your third eye. What insight do you gain from observing this, the interaction, or the interaction of the polarities of the complementary colors? Okay, so next I'm going to be working with a red-orange to represent that 11th house polarity. So I chose my vermilion, which is a nice red-orange. So I'm going to put this right here. Okay. And I can always play with muting it down a little bit with some white here or black. I really like working with these colors that are in the tube. They're a little bit more concentrated, so it's just kind of nice. So I'm going to start by space here with some water. Okay, now remember that when you throw some water on watercolor, you know, you're gonna find that it runs a little bit. So yeah, so I'm gonna be playing with water, paying attention to how it might blend. That'd be interesting to see what happens there. This might be the dominant polarity for me, you know, that blue-green color, that's going to represent my dominant polarity. now I'm starting to really get into and explore my non-dominant polarity. I've got, I don't know if I have planets in my 6th house. So allow that to just kind of, alright, there we go, alright. So we're looking to make, these two complementary colors create something that could be pleasurable. So see, this is kind of melding. It's kind of going into that. They're mixing. So we want to make sure that we don't. I don't know. Maybe we do want to mix them. Maybe that is part of the meditation in this polarity. Studying polarities. I love it. I love it. I love that when playing with the shape of the water pulls. So yeah, that's what happens. See, that's what happens, Toni. Hey, when you're putting water on watercolor, it pulls up the color from the other. Ooh, look at that. And I'm feeling more connection with this. With what this orange is representing as well. How does it help your dominant polarity? How is it helping that to be expressed? It's funny, when you mix the polarities, you mix them together, then you get a brown. Not even a pretty brown, it's just a brown. Ooh, I like that. Boy, that's good. Coffee. Ooh, what's gonna happen there? Ooh, yeah, see, there we go, that's something we can play with a little bit later, too. I'm liking the idea of just kind of like skating around that polarity. Ooh, I'm watching this. See that? How it's just kind of like curving into, I'm talking in polarities, but it's curving into the polarity. They're swirling. Those polarities are swirling together. How do those polarities, the polarities that you chose to work with, how do they work together in your life? Sort of dynamic. Some of that white being there. Wherever you feel you need to fill in some space, you can do that. We're working with shapes, we're working with color, working with color. Oh, there we go. Swirling in there. Oh, I'm enjoying watching that swirling of one polarity going into, feeding into the other. Because that for me, that fifth house represents a lot of the, you know, just, I'm a goofy kid. I'm a goofy kid. I'm still a goofy kid. I'm gonna be a goofy kid probably forever. And so, you know, and it's bleeding, it's coming into my adult life. Ew. Now I'm having so much more fun with this color, which is, it's just so cool, you know, to consider that this is, you know, I've always kind of struggled with that concept of responsibility with other, I mean, I take it very, very seriously and have taken it very seriously, but now I'm considering how am I pulling fun into my responsibility? What a cool polarity couple to play with today. Wow. Right. Yeah. The thing that I love about watercolor is just the way that it dries. Love working with just the unknowns. Because life is full of unknowns, as we know. Alright. I'm gonna dab some of my 11th house into my 5th house here. Look at that. I do like keeping some of it white, but yeah, I'm going to start playing with muting it, mutable, which is a total astrology term, mutable. Mutable is all about changing. Add that white into the red-orange. Okay, and see where we can play with this. And even, I can just add white, just plain white, as we did earlier. I'm gonna be focusing. I might be tempted, I am tempted to actually start playing with the polarity that I was working on yesterday, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Instead, I'm gonna focus on this polarity. Ooh, this part's dry. No, it's not dry. Ooh, but look at that. I'm loving that. Pouring some light in. You know, in what areas of your life is this polarity strong or not so strong? And it's okay, you know. It's okay to have not so strong aspects of life. Expressions. I'm gonna add some water to that. Oh, I'm digging that. Let's see, I'm gonna play with the lighter areas here. Okay. Oh, that's a nice one right there. It's swirling. So I love that. It just looks like it's blossoming out. It makes me think of blossoming. Blossoming fun with others. Fun with Well, that was fun. Look at that. Whoop. Alrighty. Now I'm gonna bring some of the dark in there, so that we're playing with the light and dark polarity. Now, yeah, and you can bring the masculine and feminine, or yin and yang, okay, with the white and the black, that they can be expressed within the polarity. So it's just something to consider as well. Just switch her. What'd you get? Wow, okay, this is really cool to see the way that's blending in. Wow. Give it a little touch again. Look at that. And of course, when you, of course, we know that when you blend the white and the black, you get some good gray. So that's always, I just think that colors, thinking about colors and deeply spiritual ways can provide so much insight. This is actually calling for a little bit of, but we're just, playing with pools of water. I love that the colors that can represent different aspects of life, different colors, different flavors, different intensities. What does that make you think about when you allow one color to bleed into another? This is life. Maybe I'm going to work a little bit more with some I'm just going to dab a little bit of black in there. There we go. It's a shade. This would be considered a shade. Some shading. some shade in there. Shade. Ooh, add some shade in there. Adding shade into the dark part there. Wow, that is interesting. Neato. Doing this. Water. If you find that, oops, there's too much water, you can always boop. With it. Like that there. Oh, yeah. Ooh. So I want to invite a little bit more shaded parts. Ooh, that is a really cool thing that just happened there. I like that. I want to preserve it, so I'm actually going to dab it. Dab it. Look at that. Ooh. Okay. Bring some around here. Some whiter parts. And again, this is very intuitive. It's just wherever you want. Wherever you feel called to just add shading, adding some of the polarity into it. All right, so. So I'm going to actually allow this to dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and we'll see if we have anything else I feel drawn to add. So I have taken a minute. I'm now looking at, it's pretty dry. It's dry. I'm looking at my art piece, and you know something? I have decided that I really sort of like the way it looks right now. Something that you can do is you could always grab some white paint and you can splatter it on there if you want to. Another thing that I really like doing is I like creating like angel wings. Let me see, is there a way that we can incorporate that? I think there is. So I'm gonna grab my paint. I'm gonna grab my white paint here. Is this white? I hope it's white. Because if it's not, I'm gonna be very disappointed. There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's some white paint right there. Alrighty. And we have some, let's see here. I want to add a little bit of water. A little bit of water to the light. Okay, and then I'm going to just dab my paintbrush. It's a pretty flat paintbrush. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, where's the camera? There it is. Okay, I don't know if you can see how flat that is. There we go. See, so that's pretty flat, and I'm just gonna feel into where I want these angel wings to go. I think I really like it. This is a good place right here. Yeah, just dab a little. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just brush up quickly. So there's some just wings. Okay, I like to think of it as like just rays of light. Where do we need some rays of light in this picture here? Okay, we could have some coming out like this. Let's see here. Another thing that we can do is coming from here, we have streams of light. Streams coming. Okay, just like this. Okay, I can play with just that brushing out, swooping out. Okay, just like that. Alright, good, I want some instruction. Okay, I think I want more of that white. Let's see here. And I'm just using a very, very light. All right, there we go. I like this light hand. You can just play with, you can put some symbols on there if you want to. So I'm just kind of moving around on the canvas, on my paper, and deciding where is there anything else that it's calling for. What does it need? Working with my own 11th house here, or my own, so this would be my 5th house, but nurturing that creative side of myself. Okay, this would be the creative. Really having a good time with this. So I'm just playing, and I want to invite you to do the same. From here on out, I'm going to just fast forward a little bit. So there we have it. I'm all finished with I believe I'm all finished with this, and I'm very pleased with the way that it turned out. So this was a fun exploration with the polarities. I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love for you to go into the Facebook group and drop it in there. It's a Jupiter's Playground Facebook group. Or you can just send it to me. Send it to me, Toni at jupitersplayground.com. And thank you so much for joining me on this little art journey on the polarities in astrology. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's little painting adventure. And I would love to know what you came up with. Please go to Jupiter's Playground, the Facebook group, to post what you came up with. I'm really eager to see what you have, or post it in the comments below. All right, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. Once again, you can find me in Jupiter's Playground Facebook group, or you can email me at Toni at jupitersplayground.com. That's Toni.
Toni. So, all right. It was great to hang out with you today. Mwah, mwah. Take care. Bye bye.